Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. India's leading EdTech business Byjus, with global aspirations and a growing footprint in India and abroad, is owned and managed by a private limited company called Think and Learn Private Limited. Though a private limited company, it yet faces intense public scrutiny akin to or even more than what a public limited listed company would face. And that's because it is India's most valuable startup with a last round valuation of over $22 billion and with marquee investors on board like BlackRock, Tiger Global, General Atlantic, IFC, Canadian Pension Fund, Tencent, Sofina, etc., who have collectively pumped in about $5 billion into the company so far. With such massive funds over the years, Byjus has acquired 12 EdTech companies, including 2 in the US, which is Osmo and a company called Epic. It is into various segments of education because of these acquisitions, with Akash Education helping students to prepare for tests. Its other company, Great Learning, providing higher education. Byjus itself providing education content for school students, and its company, White Hat, being in offbeat value-add education products. About 25% of Byju's revenues is reported to come from its international operations. Byjus is a multi-product and multi-geography entity with over 50,000 employees. Despite some recent retrenchments, it now says that it intends to recruit more employees. In its latest hybrid product offering for online and offline education, the company expects to enroll over 1 million students. Though Byju says that such acquisition during financial year 2020 and 2021 aided its fast growth and that it now intends to focus on efficient growth and thus keep new acquisitions at bay, it is yet in talks to acquire another education company. It thus needs money. Byjus also has to pay yet another $200 million for its acquisition of Akash Education Services and is thus seeking to raise another $500 million through a bunch of marquee investors, including sovereign funds of Abu Dhabi and Qatar. There is thus enormous public stake and involvement in Byjus, which is bound to attract intense public scrutiny and attention into its affairs, even though, as we said, it is a private limited company on paper. It has been in the news of late, particularly due to the huge delay in reporting its financial results for the year ended 31st March 2021. Incidentally, the EdTech sector of China, for example, has been littered with major accounting malpractices by leading companies like Tal Education, and thus when the financial results of Byjus for financial year 2021 have been delayed by almost 18 months, it is bound to raise a lot of questions and curiosity about its actual state of affairs. The company has delayed the reporting of its finances for financial year 2021 by almost 18 months, which is not just highly unusual for any such entity, but it is also a matter of immense concern apart from the statutory violations that it entails because of such delayed reporting. The disruptions of COVID cannot be a reason for such a long delay in preparation and reporting of accounts because much larger and complex corporations like, say, TCS, Tata Steel, Infosys, Wipro, etc. have declared the results for financial year 2021 on time, despite the impact of COVID. And mind you, they are far bigger and more complex organizations. Then, why did Byjus not do? Why did it not declare its results on time? Byjus has not only missed the statutory deadline for declaring its results for financial year 2021, but it has also failed on 4 subsequent occasions to meet its own self-imposed deadlines and commitments to do so. Since it is a private limited company, its delay did not attract the attention of the likes of stock exchanges and SEBI, but the Ministry of Corporate Affairs did ask the company to explain the reasons for the inordinate delay in declaring its results. What is intriguing is that Byjus is a tech-driven entity which is very used to data creation, data management and its transmission, which is what books of accounts are all about. And Byjus also has world-class global investors invested in it. Then why has the declaration of its results been postponed for so long is certainly a question of mystery. Why were its institutional investors not disturbed and troubled by such delays, despite the fact that in its latest funding round of $800 million, two institutional investors, which is Oxshot and Sumeru, did not put in their promised committed investment of $300 million. The delay in publishing its financial 2021 results also raised a lingering suspicion of fraud and misreporting by Byjus, which happens to be India's most valuable startup and which, if proven so, could put the fortunes of the entire Indian startup sector in jeopardy. What added to the suspicion and confusion was its failure to meet its own self-imposed deadlines. But in all this, it was very clear and obvious that it was certainly struggling to compile its books of accounts for the financial year 2021. Byjus declared its much-awaited results for 2021 day before yesterday, reporting a much lower gross revenue of rupees 2,428 crores as against its earlier unaudited reported figures of rupees 4,400 crores. It also reported a massive loss of 4,588 crores, reporting a loss which was almost 20 times its reported loss in the previous year, financial year 2020, a 20-time increase in loss as compared to the earlier year. A confident Byju Ravindran, the CEO and co-founder of the company, at its press meet said that despite the boost to its earnings because of the COVID lockdown, which had confined students to home learning, yet financial year 2021 was an extraordinary year, not in the best sense, and best forgotten, and that its investors have forgotten financial year 2021 and are now concerned about Byju's performance in financial year 2022 and financial year 2023. He indicated that the declaration of Byju's results for financial year 2022 too could be delayed, and he said that its revenues would be about rupees 10,000 crores for 31st March 2022 as against 2,428 crores for 31st March 2021 now reported. Having clocked earnings of 4,500 crores, he says, till July 2022, he projects his gross earnings for financial year 2023 at 15,000 crores, which is lower than the earlier estimate of about 17,000 crores. About the delay in reporting results of Byjus and its massive loss for financial year 2021, he said that there have been changes in the accounting policy of Byjus such that the first thing he said is that because of these changes in accounting policies, receipts of Byjus have now been accounted as income only after services have been rendered by Byjus, which has thus depleted its reported income for 2021. He then says that subscription revenue has now been recognized as income only over the period of consumption, which is rendering of services, and not earlier, as it had apparently done so far. He then mentioned that revenue from courses bought by students on EMI basis has been recognized this year, which is 2021, only after almost the entire collection of the EMI is done, which was certainly not done so earlier. While the revenue of Byjus got pushed to the subsequent years, as he pointed out, because of such change in income recognition, he pointed out that the costs were not and were fully accounted for during financial year 2021, thus aiding to its massive losses. Ravindran also says that losses piled up in 2021 also due to some fast-growing but loss-making acquisitions by Byjus, which it had to recognize in its books of accounts. He says that most of its business is high-margin business, though some businesses which flourished during COVID now need structural changes according to him. He thus says that Byjus will become cash flow positive in a few quarters in every large business segment that it is in. He says that in the last 2 years, Byju's focused on just growth, but now with the changing macro environment, it is now focusing on what he calls efficient growth. Ravindran then says that Byju's will go for an IPO after the macros improve, and there could be a dual listing of its shares on stock exchanges in India and in the US. The delay in reporting results has been due to a change in accounting policies because of COVID and because of the numerous acquisitions by Byju's, he points out. He finally says that its auditors have given it a clean and unqualified report, except for pointing out that the company needs to strengthen its accounting controls and internal controls. The fact that the company auditors have given Byju's a clean report and also that none of its institutional shareholders have raised a hue and cry lends some credibility to Ravindran's claims that there has been no fraud or misreporting and that manipulation of financial statements has not taken place. That being so, the delay of 18 months in compiling its accounts and declaring results certainly shows that the auditors had their way, who must have otherwise threatened to issue a qualified report in case Byju's does not mend its ways and change its accounting policies in the way Ravindran says now. But then, the huge delay to us yet indicates that all is not well with the state of affairs of Byju's. Its accounting policies were flawed so far, and it has taken too long for it to do what is correct and conservative in the matter of accounting, which is recognize expenses in the year of their payment, but income only after it has truly earned it by rendering services. It was not doing so far. Not doing so is a wrong accounting practice which Byju seems to have adopted till financial year 2020, and it has only changed it now. That to us amounts to serious accounting irregularities which border on accounting manipulation and calls for an investigation into its affairs by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. In the meanwhile, let us be aware that accounting manipulations are not rare in the corporate world, and that a recent report says that SEBI is currently investigating accounting manipulations by many listed companies. This kind of a delay, which has been so long in such a company, to us says that the Byju story of delayed accounts is not yet over. Expect more of news on this, especially if an investigation is conducted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to come by. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.